بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وأعز المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، سيما بقية الله روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. Mu'minina mu'minat, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this a blessed evening for all of us, an opportunity for us to seek forgiveness. Laylatul Jumu'ah, Laylatul Istighfar. Inshallah, we are amongst those who are forgiven on this night, and also we remember our marhumeen, those who passed away from our gatherings, our ancestors, our loved ones. Remember them with dua and seeking forgiveness, with recitation of the Holy Quran, perhaps with acts of charity tonight and tomorrow, Friday, Laylatul Jumu'ah and Jumu'ah. Both are very significant times for charity and charitable acts, inshallah, for especially on their behalf. And when we do it on behalf of marhumeen, it is multiple rewards, because we get the rewards of charity, they get the rewards of charity, we also get the rewards of doing things for our loved ones, Silatul Arham. When there is Silah while they're alive, and there is Silah when they depart. Silah while they're alive is in one shape and form, and when they pass it is in another shape. Inshallah, we all have the opportunity of sadaqat and Silah on behalf of our marhumeen, inshallah. We've been discussing the section from Dua Makarim al-Akhlaq as we try and reflect on this dua and generally on Islamic ethics, different topics around Islamic ethics on Thursday nights, in an effort to try and purify, try and to do tazkiyah, as it is the duty, it is what we should all be doing as believers and those who want to win. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Inshallah, we're amongst the winners. The section of the dua is where the Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and therefore teaches us to ask for the beautiful ornament of Salihin and Muttaqeen, to be adorned and beautified with the qualities of the righteous ones, the qualities of the pious ones. And again, it is not the physical attire, it is the spiritual, and it is more of the ethical attire that one wears, that we have as a duty towards one another. Dressing and dress code is meant to dress basically before others. A human being on their own, living on their own, they may not need to dress up. So we dress up in order to face one another and to cover what Quran refers to as sawat, meaning the errors, private parts if you wish, and cover what is not so beautiful to display, not so beautiful or not so attractive to display as a human being. And again, we're not speaking of the lustful attractiveness, we're speaking of a human attraction. As a human attraction, in fact, we adorn ourselves with dressing, with putting things on. Contrary to what some think nowadays in today's society, we beautify ourselves with dressing up. No judge sits in a court naked. They sit with a certain attire, and in fact you go to any kind of profession, you'll have their own dress code and so on. In any case, this is physical when it comes to the physical interaction. The ethical and spiritual interaction, and what we owe each other in terms of ethically, morally and spiritually, requires us to also dress up in some sort of a dress code that is suitable to that realm. And so what is suitable to our moral interactions is, number one, justice. في بسط العدل. We said the first part, the Imam says to spread justice. وَكَظْمِ الْغَيْظِ. And part of that, in order for us to be able to spread justice, we need to control our emotions, control especially our anger. Because as I said again, it is not difficult to be just and fair and kind and loving towards people who you're happy with. It is difficult to do it towards people you're angry with. Somehow they angered you and now you have to react. What is the reaction? It has to be justice. في بسط العدل وكظم الغيظ وإطفاء النائرة. We said, the example used here is fire, or the parable drawn is fire, the fire of rage, to put off the fire of rage and anger. And then bring people together, even those who try to divide, we bring them together. وَضَمِّ أَهْلِ الْفُرْقَةِ وَإِصْلَاحِ ذَاتِ الْبَيْنِ. We said that إِصْلَاحِ ذَاتِ الْبَيْنِ or صَلَاحِ ذَاتِ الْبَيْنِ, as we are told in the will of Imam Ali alayhi salam. He says in his will, in his wasiyah, he says, صَلَاحُ ذَاتِ الْبَيْنِ. I learned from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that he said, bringing people together and reconciling between people, basically trying to remove any ill feelings from people's hearts towards one another, is better than the entire prayers and fasting. All of prayers and fasting, entire act of prayers and fasting, all of it put together, أفضل من عامة الصلاة والصوم. And I've said it before that some translate and interpret that as in the mustahab prayers and fasting, because they say, you have to still do your wajib. Others, and I would tend to agree with those who say no, it is saying it's better. It doesn't say it replaces it. You still have to pray your wajib salat and your wajib fasting, but what is a more significant act, in fact what salat should lead us to do, is to bring people together and purify the hearts of people, ourselves and others, towards one another, so that we create a peaceful and just environment, because that's the purpose of all the messages. لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hadid declares that all the messengers, the books, even the commanders amongst the messengers, those who had the leadership and had armies, all of them, they were commanded to do their action, to basically go out there and even fight injustice in order to establish justice. لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. So that people can establish justice. And then he says, وَإِفْشَاءِ الْعَارِفَةِ. This is the part that we are at. وَسَتْرَ الْعَائِبَةِ وَلِينِ الْعَرِيكَةِ وَخَفْضِ الْجَنَاحِ. These 4 lines I'll quickly translate and explain briefly, inshallah. وَإِفْشَاءِ الْعَارِفَةِ. Ifsha is to display. To display and spread what is good. It comes from ma'ruf, or ma'ruf comes from that same thing. Arifa and ma'ruf comes from what the soul is familiar with. That is the reason why it's called ma'ruf, is because it's suitable and familiar to the soul, to humanity, to insan. This is why we often refer to urf in our rulings. What generally people, decent people obviously, would consider as something good. So وَإِفْشَاءِ الْعَارِفَةِ, to spread that good act. And display, ifsha is also from displaying and spreading. This is why it is recommended that when you are doing wajib charity, zakat al-wajib, you give it in public, because you are encouraging others. This is part of ifsha al-arifa. And in fact, that is not limited to wajib. If your intention, khums or zakat, wajib or mustahab, if you're solely intending to give it in public to encourage others, it's better. If we can manage not to get it mixed with showing off. If we can manage to, give it solely in public, give it in public solely for the purpose of encouraging others. Otherwise, sadaqat, it's better to be hidden. إن تخفوا الصدقات فنعم ما هي. If you hide it, it's better. But if you're doing it, when تبدوها وتؤتوها الفقراء, it's also good if you do it, openly give it, provided that it's not mixed with showing off. It's the purpose of it is to encourage others. وإفشاء العارفة وستر العائبة. As believers, our mission should be to spread goodness amongst the people. And if there is an error in anybody that we are familiar with, or within ourselves even, that we hide it. This is why I tell mu'minina mu'minat, if you've committed a sin, don't go there and talk about it. It's not actually, in some cases it could be haram, it could be an act, forbidden act, a sinful act to openly talk about it. In other cases it would not be recommended. In general, don't talk about your sins. It is between you and God. Seek forgiveness and keep it to yourselves, because spreading it makes it worse. Spreading it makes others more encouraged or more likely to commit it. ستر العائبة. إفشاء العارفة ستر العائبة. Good things, spread them. You see, and this is very important, because normally people do the opposite. Generally people, what people do when they go and, last example, you go to a shop, you see something good, you don't say anything. You see something, the cashier mistreats you, what happens? You want to spread it in the world. You want to go and give, what do you call it, feedback, or, do something online and social media and whatever against them. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that at all. In some cases it could be positive to basically to explain or show the right and bring justice and so on. Nevertheless, when you see good, say it, share it. And generally when you see not some bad behavior, try and keep that, try and cover and conceal. This should be the way of believers. Inshallah, we're amongst those who spread goodness and hide whatever is not so good or whatever is evil. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those who listen to what's said and follow what's best. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala sayyidina wa nabiyyina Muhammad wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.